you much, all of us, for joining here for this session with David Hemp, who's been recently appointed as the head coach of Pakistan's women team. We offer and extend a very warm welcome to David, first of all, to Pakistan, and specifically now in Karachi, where he'll be joining the National Women's High Performance Camp in a day's time. He's here to have his arrival press conference in Karachi. I'll ask him to have an opening statement first, where he will tell us about what exactly is on his mind, his plans, his strategy for Pakistan women cricket, and then he will take questions. David, thank you for joining us, and we start off with an opening statement from you. If you can please switch on the mic, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Edmund. Look, good afternoon, everybody. Great to see you, and thanks for coming along this afternoon. I just think, for me, just want to first of all start by saying, from my perspective, it's a great honour and a privilege to lead the Pakistan women's side. It goes without saying, Pakistan's got a great history in terms of cricket, and to be a part of that with the PCB is, from my own personal point of view, is a fantastic opportunity, and really relishing that opportunity. Before I take questions, as Edmund said, I would just like to give you a background on myself. Just so you know where I sort of come from. So I've been coaching for 30 years officially. I say that officially because my first job was in 1990 in a high school in Durban as director of coaching. So within that 30-year period, I've worked in various countries, so South Africa, the UK, Australia, Bermuda, and now Pakistan. So I've experienced across those different areas into different cultures, different roles, so head coach roles, director of cricket roles, director of coaching roles within that period. Additionally, I had a playing background as well, so I played professional cricket, county cricket, for 18 years, both Glamorgan and Warwickshire. And also played internationally with Bermuda. I was also fortunate to coach Glamorgan at the back end of my career, and also, captain Glamorgan, but also captain the national side of Bermuda. So that's a little bit about my playing and coaching background. In terms of this role, as I said, I'm delighted for the opportunity for lots of reasons. One is I think there's an incredible amount of talent within the group, which you would have seen over the last year and a half in terms of performances that have been on the increase, and that's backed up by finishing 5th in the ICC Women's Championship, the 2nd edition, which was a great effort. And on that, I think it's appropriate to say well done to those players that were involved in that, plus the coaches and the support staff that were involved within that competition for that particular time. ICC rankings at the moment say we're 7th, so that's the reality of where we are. That's not where we want to be. We do want to be a top 4 nation and ranked in the top 4, and that's one of the priorities in terms of my tenure, what we're trying to achieve. That might seem a little bit far away. I don't think it is. I just think, as I say, there's talent within that group, and I think for me it's how we harness that talent over this next period in terms of getting to those, in terms of achieving that particular ranking, which is certainly attainable. That's it from me. Happy to take questions now from whoever.
Wonderful. Thank you, David, for that. We'll start with Khalid Khan here in the front. Please, if you can hand him over the mic. Thank you.
David, considering that Pakistan women cricket has been... David, considering Pakistan women cricket has been a long struggle, I mean, and we have a limited pool of players, and so how big this is going to be a challenge for you to enhance their capability?
You're right. You mentioned the player pool. At the moment, there's about 45 players that we sort of look at in terms of the national side. Ideally, you want to have more. I mean, that's sort of I know that the PCB are looking at what happens at the grassroots level, and Uruj Montaz is working behind the scenes with that in terms of getting that strength in depth. That's ideally what you want, because you've got players coming through. It challenges those that are obviously in the pole position. But I think for me, if you look at you still got 45 players, so there's still a lot of players, and there's 27 at the camp now, or 26 because one unfortunately got COVID. But that's still a lot of players to choose from and work with. What it does mean, though, is because that pool of quality might be reduced. That means the expectation on those top-end players is a little bit higher. So I think about the Australian system. They've just played New Zealand in a series. They had a squad of 18 there in that particular series. And off the top of my head, I reckon there's 5 or 6 players that were not involved in that were left behind, that didn't make that 18, that are really good international players and have performed at international level. So that's what you're up against. Is that a challenge? Of course it is. But I just think if you get the structure and the systems right, then you can actually, you can achieve good things. And what we want was that top 4 ranking. So it'll be a work in progress, but I don't think it's unachievable.
Mahmood?
David, first of all, you very warm welcome to Pakistan. Pakistan women's team have a 2 foreign coaches, included you in future and past, Mark Coles and you. Do you think that Pakistan women cricket need a foreign coach?
I can't answer that. That's the Pakistan Cricket Board have made that decision, and obviously that interview process. I'm not sure how many people were interviewed for the role, but at interview process, those that were given the authority to make the decision in terms of my appointment felt that obviously I was the best candidate. So I can't answer the question. Sorry, whether or not it should be a foreign coach or not.
Thank you there, David. Faizan?
David, what are the areas you think Pakistan should be working hard to be there where you want them to be, to be among top 4? What are the areas they need to work on?
Yeah, I mean, there's like anything in any team, you're always progressing and trying to improve. And again, what we've, I look at Australia. I go back to Australia. Why? Because I've been working there for 5 years and working closely within not just the state system, but also on camps with the national side. So I know how they sort of approach things. They're continuously looking to improve. So in terms of Pakistan, where do we sit at the moment? All skill sets, whether that's batting, bowling, fielding, even off-field fitness, is still an important part of what you're trying to do in terms of being a professional athlete. I go back to Australia, and I want to apologise for going back to them because they are the benchmark. I know in 2017 it was off the back of losing to India in the World Cup in the UK, where they actually came back and they looked at how they operated, how they went about things. They challenged themselves from a physical standpoint as well. It wasn't just skills with bat, bowler in the field. It was an overhaul of everything that they did, and that for me is what I'll look to do now in conjunction with the playing group, because there's obviously enough experience in the playing group to have conversations with where do we actually sit at the moment, what key areas do we need to get right to help us move up the rankings. So we're 7th, so the first part, let's get to 6, get to 5, and we'll slowly chip away that way. So that sort of those specific details will come out once I've had conversations with the relevant people. Yeah, and that's ultimately what you want, consistency in performance. And if you're doing that, then look, you're always going to lose games of cricket. That's sport, whatever sport it is, and whatever team it is. No one wins all the time, not even Real Madrid or Barcelona. So that's just the nature of how things are. But the more games you win, and that consistency in that performance will help you more often not get over the line in tight situations. And ultimately, that's what we want to do. We want to win games of cricket. But to win games of cricket, we've got to be consistent in everything that we do, on and off the field. So it's going to be I think it'll be a really good conversation around where we sit. It needs to be honest. The best teams are really honest with their conversations, because you're trying to drive standards and expectations. The board has an expectation, I have an expectation, and the conversations that I've had, the players have an expectation now around where we actually want to go, and that's the key thing. Everyone aligned to that overall goal.
We'll have Imran, followed by Nadira, and then Shoaib Jatt.
David, here.
Sorry, yeah.
Which areas you target for coaching in Pakistan team? I'm sure you following Pakistan team in Australia in T20 World Cup. You see their weaknesses and strength. Which areas you target and how much time you need to reach your goals?
Yeah, like I first watched Pakistan with any sort of depth back in 2018. So that was a series in Malaysia against Australia. Again, from a personal point of view, there were, I think, 5 Victorian players, so players that I was coaching back in Victoria that were involved. and two of them, I think, it's, Sophie Molyneux and Taylor Valamek, I think it was their first tours. So there's a little bit more of an interest, you know, how they're going to play and how they're going to go. So that's when I first saw Pakistan play, and again was impressed at that time with what I saw. And you know, certainly at certain times within that series, challenged Australia, which obviously was good to see. In terms of the areas that you're talking about, again, for me, it's the preparation phase and the review phase. So what we do in preparation before games, how we look at games, the opposition we're playing against, how we get the matchups right with bowling skill sets against batting skill sets. That one, and not just from a team perspective, but an individual perspective in terms of, you know, I open the batting, who's going to be opening the bowling against me? Have I looked at vision? Do I know what their strengths are? Do I know what buttons to push in terms of getting over the line against them? So it's more around, for me, getting that right in terms of our prep. And is the content of what we're doing relevant for who we're playing against? That's the first thing. And the second thing is you play the game, and the game will pan out. And the game will present facts. It'll give you figures on performance and where you are. So the relevant point is how we review that. So this is the area that at times can become challenging. You know, I was a player, and it was, you know, when coaches are challenging you in terms of performance, it can be a little bit awkward. But reviews are non-judgmental. It's very factual. What happened? Why did it happen? And then what can we do to make sure that it doesn't happen again? And there's that consistency, which I won't stop banging on about. So if we can get into that mindset when we review, it's we're reviewing because we want to get better, we want to improve performance, because our ultimate goal and aim is to get better and better and better, because we want to go to World Cups being a contender. So when we go to World Cups, we want the media and the opposition to say, actually, Pakistan are one of the teams that have been talked around about potentially winning this competition, and not someone that, oh yeah, you know, if they go and everything goes well, they have none of the injuries and they have a bit of luck, maybe they can get to a semi-final. We want to go to a stage, or get to a stage where there's an expectation that we are genuine contenders for getting the semi-final positions, and that's not just external but also internal from the playing group as well.
David, this is me, Nadra. Welcome to Pakistan.
Thank you very much.
I would like to know about the core coaching philosophy, and would you like to give some recommendation for improving women cricket to the PCB?
Yeah, I've had last 2 days. I've been in meetings with Aruj, Mumtaz, and Marina Iqbal. So, you know, we've talked around the schedule, what it looks like going forward, and obviously camps and what potentially the key areas are in terms of that development. I'll share my ideas from the environment I just come from. Obviously Australia, I can share that. But again, the key thing is the environment that you're in, and what's relevant within that particular environment. So Australia's been through a massive transformation in terms of the female game over the last 5 years. So when I first took my role as head coach of Victoria, the Melbourne Stars, 5 years ago, cricket was in a different position to where it is now. So Cricket Australia did pour a lot of money and resource in terms of bodies into the female game initially, and then it took an even bigger hit after the MOU in 2017. So they've made big strides in terms of what they've done, not just on the field but off the field in terms of the systems that they put in place. So I can have those conversations. I will have those conversations, obviously. But priority for me is the group of 18 contracted players over there, and looking at this next 3-4 months in terms of ascertaining how we're going to play, the brand of cricket that we want to play, what we think is important in terms of development of our games. They're going to be strengths, so we need to really enhance those strengths. It's not about, and this in my own coaching philosophy is, if you're good at something, let's get really good at it. If you're really poor at it, well, let's waste too much time. Let's get a little bit better from that point of view, but let's not lose your strengths. If you look at the best players in the world, and I'll use Meg Lanning because obviously I've worked with her over a considerable amount of time, she still plays to her strengths. You don't see her going away from what she does really well. She's chipping away at the areas that she needs to chip away at, but when it comes down to the crunch, she's very, very particular about staying on task with her strengths. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what the approach I'll be taking. Recommendations will, again, that will be the conversations I have, and when I find out exactly what's happening underneath, then obviously I'll share those with the PCB.
Hi, Hemp. My name is Shiv Jat.
Hi.
Happy to see you. You are giving very long and detailed answers. So I have two questions. I am pretty much sure you go through the stats of Pakistani players. What do you think? Pakistan have mostly players are crossing their age 30 and 32 years. So, and they are not a consistent performer, but they are part of Pakistan team since long. I can understand you cannot change the players immediately because you just joined the team. So, is it your plan that you change the aged players who are not performing? The second thing, will you urge to add foreigner coaching staff with you, or will you go through Pakistani staff for team management?
Okay, I'll go back to the first question. Look, I think the best teams have a combination of experience and junior players. I think the Australian side it does that at the moment. Again, I use Australia. England does it at the moment. So there's two of the best, in terms of female game, two sides at the top of the tree. I think a combination of both is right. If you go too young, then you're going to be it's going to be a bit of a challenge. But you're not going to stick with old players if they're not performing. So the key is, once you become an experienced player and you played for so many games, there is, the nature of any team and any sporting team is that when you are an experienced player and you've been around for a while, there is an expectation that you do perform. The young players coming in, no one's really expecting them to do a great deal. It's a bonus if they actually perform and do well. So in terms of your question, no, I'm not going to come in and say, you're too old, you're done, because I played till I was 38 and thought I did a reasonable job. So I'm not going to go down that route. But it's about performance. So yes, if players haven't been maybe where they should be, then that's a conversation. Well, what do we need to do to get you to the stats that you should be at for a player of your ability? And I think that's the conversation to have first and foremost.
And what about team management?
Team management, yeah, again, I'll sit down with Aruj when I get back. Well, I'll see her now in Karachi, so we'll sit down and look at the support staff and the coaching staff who we currently have. Obviously, have conversations with the guys that are working here at the moment. And within a couple of weeks, we'll come up with what we think is the staff that we think will look after the side going forward.
Zubair bhai, and then we'll have Suhail and Muzammil.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Hi.
Yeah.
How are you?
Hi, David. First of all, welcome to you in Pakistan.
Thank you very much.
And have the good wishes for you.
Thank
for
you.
your assignment. My question is that, physical fitness and the disciplines always remains very important for any team.
Yep.
So do you have any plan for this? This? And second part of my question is that Mark Cole, he was from New Zealand, he was working before you, and he left because he was missing his family. So will you miss your family? My question. Thank you.
Yeah, two good questions. Look, I think I mentioned Australia with fitness. You talk about fitness. I think fitness is a very important part of the game, and as a professional player, especially an international player, that needs to be high on your agenda. You need to be fit for purpose in terms of the job that you have to perform. The fitter you are, which for me, when you become tired, you make poor decisions, or you don't execute properly. So the fitter you are, the more likely you are to execute your skill. So that's the important thing about fitness. In terms of missing the family, like discipline. The discipline. Look, that's again. I think having managed a state system, domestic state system, you see the players every day or every other day. So they're in four sometimes 5 days a week. Different from a national side where players come in for a 2-week camp, they'll go home for 2 weeks, they'll come back in for 3 weeks, etc. So a lot of that's going to be responsibility of the players. If I'm playing for my country, responsibility is not just my skill set, whether that be batting or bowling, but also fitness is now an important component of that. And I have to make sure that I'm completed my gym session in the weights room or my running sessions. If if my program assigned to me by the S&C says this, then I have to make sure that I'm actually completing that. So that's about being professional, and that onus is, yes, it's on the support staff and the S&C to push that and manage that, but ultimately it's down to the player responsibility and accountability. In terms of being away from family, yes, that can be challenging. Obviously, I've played county cricket where you are on the road quite a bit, but also internationally with Bermuda. So I've been away from the family for periods of time. So my wife and my kids are pretty much used to that sort of way of life. So yeah, I mean, I can't answer how I'll be, but for me, hopefully I can manage that, and it's not an issue at all.
We'll take good care of you, don't worry. Yeah. Over to you, Suhail.
David, first of all, welcome to Pakistan.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
With experienced coach like you, after coaching Victoria and Melbourne Stars, which is the first thought in your mind when you thought that I can apply for Pakistan and I will coach Pakistan? Which is the first thought that that you taken this decision? You can apply and coach Pakistan. What about the first thought about Pakistan women cricket?
Yeah, thank you. Look, I guess for my own personal position was I've been working as a domestic head coach or a state coach, so a natural progression for me was to look at the next level up. And I mentioned it previously. When this role did come up, what excited me was the talent that I'd seen previously in 2018, but then and also in the World Cup back in February, March. In Australia, T20 World Cup in Australia. So I've seen more recently what the side was or could do, and the talent that was on show. So that was essentially what attracted me to apply once I knew that the position was up for grabs.
Last two questions, Muzammil first and then Arham. Muzammil.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome once again.
Thank you.
Power hitting has had the biggest problem in our women team. In fact,